Welcome and good morning. My name is Elaine Siegel, and I'll be your worship associate this morning for our service on the risk of hospitality. Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home or you are seeking comfort and connection in uncertain times, we are grateful you are with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth and love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful world of existence. Together, let us remember our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. There are many links of connection in the description below of the YouTube live stream, including the order of service credits, ways to support our mission, and to be added to our email newsletter. A few announcements. It's a joy to be back in person today. This stole that I'm wearing is a Japanese akesa. It was given to me. I received it in a kikyoshiki ceremony in Kyoto, Japan, and I'm sharing it with you this morning. It indicates that I've received the teachings and we'll share teachings this morning together. We will be singing hymns together as we were before the most recent closure. And if anyone prefer to be in a non-singing space, Room 6 is open and live streaming the service. A reminder to please be sure to keep your well-fitting masks over your nose and mouth throughout the service. After worship, we will have a 20-minute kinship time from 11:15 to 11:35. Please greet one another and say hello to those you haven't met before. And stop by the Fair Trade cart next to the mural in the back to purchase Fair Trade coffee, chocolate, and other delicious and beautiful items. Proceeds from the Fair Trade cart go to Connections for the Homeless this year. After kinship at 11:35, we will have two options for faith formation. One, our storyteller, Greg Tertullian, will offer a story workshop in room 3, which will be available via Zoom. You can find the link in the description of the newsletter. And here in the sanctuary, there will be drumming led by Alicia Hempfling and Steve Courtwright. Both of these will go until about 12:30. Nursery care is available in room 11 throughout the morning, and children, grades K to 6, will be invited to join Kathy Underwood in room 3 for head, heart, and hands activities toward the end of the service. Please save the date of Saturday, February 26th at 7 p.m. for our Pledge Drive kickoff celebration. This will be an online gathering featuring performances by talented members of our congregation and information about how our collective contributions support our mission. Look for more information in upcoming newsletters, including how to get a free box of sweets for the UCE baking team to enjoy during the sweet event. Now, I invite you to settle into this time of shared worship and reflection. When you enter most houses of worship, you find a built-in greeting. There may be a welcoming sculpture over the portal, portraying the scripture, "I am the door." Sanctuaries are often dark, shadowy places, perhaps with flickering candlelight. Worshippers silent in the gloom, but in front of the sanctuary there is an image looking back at you. Maybe it is a crucifix or a statue, an icon, an altar with carvings, or a stained glass window with biblical scenes. There may be inscriptions speaking to you, perhaps in Hebrew, Arabic, Latin, or there may be a praise band, a choir, dancers looking right at you. That traditional architecture fosters connection, both spiritual and personal. But when you walk into UCE, you enter into a realm of light, high ceilings, The walls are white. The lighting is bright. The windows are clear. You're looking outwards. Trees, sky, wind, clouds, snow, rain, squirrels, birds. Our sanctuary draws us out into the world, into nature, into the lands once belonging to the First Nations, into society. The sanctuary itself challenges us to become part of nature and of the world, to act, to make peace, to do justice. Our architecture draws us forward and outward. So when you enter UCE, you often find a sea of people, their backs turned away from you. Our sanctuary thus challenges us, to be the connection, both spiritual and personal, sought by our fellows and by our visitors. Let us turn around and welcome. We must become the points of connection. Let us be mindful of how we may live up to that built-in mandate to join with all in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
They said it's hard to really see it, and the reason why we living. Don't chase it with your eyes, can recognize it till it's given. The world in front of me became the molding of my vision. The pain that came to me is what I blame in my decisions. How can I find the courage when my heart is feeling missing? How do I find a time when I know that the clock is ticking? I'm a soldier for this love, is guaranteed to be my mission. Wish I could find it easy like I see it in the children. Hey, looking back as I move forward, Sankofa, I want a love that explodes, call it a supernova. What it takes to reach the heavens, let me stand closer. Put the pieces all together, witness Jehovah. God is patient with his son, he plant the seed and let it grow. When I love it unconditional, I learn to let it go. Open your arms, what I'm talking about. Without a doubt, I can feel the love reaching out.
Love reaches out. My love reaches out. Love reaches out. Love reaches out.
My love reaches out. Can you feel it? Yeah. I'm never giving up, I'm keeping cool, I'm in control. My praise, I give it up, a higher power's in control. This light is guiding me, I'm on with everything I know. This love is getting closer, I can feel it in my soul. Long as I am living, I still got the time to show the patience that was given from the ones that let me grow. Forgive me for debating back and forth, to and fro. This love is reaching out, I'm giving it to you and yours. Walk with me in solidarity. My sanctuary eases my disparity. When I look into your eyes, I'm looking carefully. What do you know? There is me. No more questioning the things that I can never see. Touch, taste, smell, hear, no more mystery. Just a faith that's stronger than my pain and misery. I found it in myself and it will forever be. The breath of love that gave me the breath of life. A breath of lost spirits, give it back and I energize. If I never take another, let my voice come and speak it out. And give you the feeling of love reaching out.
Love reaches out.
Yes, it does.
My love reaches
and I can feel it, I can feel it, I can feel it. Hey.
My love reaches out. My love reaches
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
reaches out.
Oh yes, it does.
My love reaches
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Hey.
Take over your soul. Love opens doors without a key. He bounds through patience and honesty. Trust, love, and just let it be. Feel the power of love between between you and me, between you and me, between you and me, through the power of love between you and me. Love reaches out. My love reaches out. Reaches out.
Yes, it does.
My love reaches out.
Feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it now? Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
My love reaches out. Love reaches out. My love, your love,
Love reaches out.
when it's cold outside, my love go reach out and warm your soul.
Never get tired of hearing that. Peace. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you. And before I do our land acknowledgement, I want to just explain, because lots of people were like, what's with the circles? So it's widening the circle is our monthly theme. So, I just went nuts on the circles. Up to your interpretation, whatever you want to make of them. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. This land was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, and then was sold to white settlers. After decades of violent encroachment by the French, British, and then U.S. American settlers, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before they were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. The Chicagoland area is now home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the U.S. Our faith calls us to name these realities with honor and respect as one small effort toward finding greater accountability, deeper relationship, and mutuality with contemporary indigenous communities. For the land which we use as sacred space, for the animals and plants that have been sustained by this land, and for our ancestors and descendants who are and will become part of the earth.
As David, Ellen, and Marion Bates Jeffries light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying these words by UU Minister Reverend Marta I. Valentin. In this circle that holds all life, may we ever work toward widening its boundaries until there are none. And now please join us in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
So before our hymn, we're going to reintroduce something that we used to do. We're going to greet one another. So wait, hold on. I just want to give you a little context. This is part of our practice of beloved community. So I invite you just to take a moment to turn to somebody, hopefully somebody that you don't know or don't know well. Just say hello, say good morning, and yeah, I guess that's enough. Well, that didn't take you too long to get reacclimated to that practice, did it? Good job, everybody. Now we'll join and sing. I'm sorry, you can rise again if in body or spirit if you'd like to. We're going to join in singing hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Excited to welcome back our guest storyteller, Greg Tertullian. Take it away, Greg.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to see you all back. Glad to be back here. So today we're gonna, focus on the hospitality and welcoming. It's kind of what the story is gonna be based on. So when I was thinking of this story, I thought, did we ever really pay attention to that first time we were welcomed? Was that a thing in our mind, or were we just welcomed and we took it, And how did we acknowledge how it felt? Did we acknowledge how it felt? Thinking back, to grade school, I went to Timber Ridge now, and there's Bessie Rhodes now. And I think back, I can't really remember what it felt to be welcomed. I just remember going there, introducing ourselves, saying hi to other kids, and that was about it. But I didn't really think about being welcomed. But sometimes with welcoming, there comes assumptions, and I've definitely been guilty of that. You meet kids. So I lived in the Dodge area, closer to Dawes and Chute, and I would meet some of those kids because I went to YIU as a younger student with the Chute program. I was like, okay, we have similarities. They like, the thing with us was Dragon Ball Z. They like Dragon Ball Z, I like Dragon Ball Z, we're the same. But then you notice the little differences and you're like, oh, we're not the same. I shouldn't have just assumed that just from that first interaction or from that one similarity that we had. There's other similarities. So I work with kids, and there's always an assumption where when it comes to behavior, a kid will act bad and say, okay, that kid is bad. Or this kid gets everything done well. Does all her homework, does all the work, listens to everything. They mess up one time and you're like shocked. But I think you make those assumptions from those previous interactions that we forget to peel the layers. And I've had a history of, gravitating to the kids who are considered struggles. And they also gravitate towards me. And I think that's helped me to acknowledge that when I gravitate towards them and when they gravitate towards me, not to just say, oh, you're going to be a struggle for me. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to peel the layers, and I'm going to actually see who you are, rather just assume that you're a struggling kid. So for me, growing up in Evanston, I felt like I was sheltered from some of the microaggressions of the world, from certain aspects of being welcomed or how you're presented. I wasn't exposed to things of microaggressions, of racism, of paying attention to the different races around and cultures until high school. And part of that is my fault too, because I didn't want to. I wanted to live in this diverse, perfect world that I had in my mind. So I worked at YIU for, 4 or 5 years. And we had diversity and ethnicity trainings that we would go to, sometimes twice a year, but it would happen repeatedly every year. The first year, I didn't want anything to do with it. I just felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to listen to it. it's like, this is not a thing that I experience. But over time, with connecting with your coworkers, during those trainings, we had chances where we sat in a group and we were able to talk about our own experiences. And when I actually gave it a chance to listen to some of the experiences, it allowed me to be open to even talk about my own experience, but also understand from the other experiences and think, maybe I also had that experience as well. There are times where I felt uncomfortable, and instead of trying to acknowledge that and change it around, I just stayed away from it because I didn't want to feel that way again. And I think that's something we all fall to sometimes, where we don't allow ourselves to be uncomfortable, to peel the layers. We want to stay in our own area. But if we don't allow ourselves to sometimes be uncomfortable, then we can't acknowledge if we are, in certain moments, being welcoming or hospitable to those people around us. And that's a hard lesson I've learned, something I'm still learning, especially working with youth in Chicago. Sometimes I can be like, I see a student acting up a certain kind of way, and I'll just turn the other way, like, not my kid, not my problem. But there's sometimes, if I do know that kid and I've had an interaction with them, and I see they're struggling, and maybe another teacher's struggling with them, I'll try to pitch in and help a little bit, because I'm allowing myself in that moment to be uncomfortable and be welcoming to that student. So it's not just that one staff member they're working with, but it's like, hey, I'm here for you. Let's work together on that. So I want us all to think about times where we're uncomfortable and acknowledge where we are, what's going on. And sometimes when you're uncomfortable, it's okay to stay back. But sometimes when we're uncomfortable, think about, is this a good opportunity for me to learn? For me to peel the layers? For me to turn that uncomfortableness into a little bit of comfort? Not just for myself, but for whatever is happening in that situation, so that I can be more welcoming in the future. Thank you.
We're going to sing another hymn, There Is More Love Somewhere. And this is an African-American hymn from our hymnal, which comes out of the struggle of enslaved Africans for liberation in this country. The tune is named for Stephen Bantu Biko, a Black South African activist and founder of the South African Students Organization, whose activism cost him his life. As a reminder, we are keeping track when we sing African American or Negro spirituals in our services, so that we might offer some recompense for these tremendous gifts, and which have not been paid for. You can contribute through text to give by entering in the amount and the word spirituals if you're so moved, and or you can send in a check with spirituals in the memo line if you want to contribute to this. Thank you, Kylie.
There is more
Each Sunday, we hold space for the joys and sorrows of those gathered here, honoring the struggles and the triumphs, the brokenness and the wholeness that is woven into the human experience. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you want to share with this community, if you'd like me to speak it aloud, you can write it in the Joys and Sorrows book, which is kept at the back by the door. You can send me an email, or you can enter it into the Google form found on the homepage of our website. Oh, and you can also enter it into the chat if you are at home. I did see one earlier, so I'm going to catch that one before I get started. Diane Markle wrote a joy of spending last evening on Zoom with Kristen Lems in a wonderful concert. And from Elaine Siegel, yesterday was her 39th anniversary with her husband, Ted Yasuda. Congratulations. From Melanie Kitchener, my niece, Erin Fitzgerald Strobel, who was an All-American lacrosse player as a student at Ursinus, is that right? Okay. Ursinus College in Pennsylvania, was just named Director of Athletics at her alma mater. We are so proud of her. She's a warm and wonderful person, wife, mother of 2 bright girls, and a spectacular niece. Congratulations to her. And from Jane Kennemore, on behalf of the refugee group and the immigrant solidarity team, Basil, the husband of Aya Haj Khalef of our original Syrian refugee family, passed his citizenship test and interview this week. Yeah. Aya will take her test in a few weeks. Like Aya, he immigrated 5 years ago. He now owns a barbershop in Park Ridge. Les Butler and Laura Loschutz joyfully welcomed their first granddaughter, Emmeline Nell Simonson, who arrived a few weeks earlier than expected on Friday night. Everyone is healthy and happy, and we can't wait to meet her in person. What joy. And Sue Yoakum continues concerns for their partner's mental health. They are still in Tennessee, holding all of these joys and all of these sorrows in our hearts. This is a sacred space for our tender offerings, and it is part of the practice of beloved community. Together we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And we invite you now to come forward if you would like to light a candle for the joys and sorrows that are on your heart that remain too tender to say out loud. Please join me in the spirit of prayer meditation. This is written by the collective Enfleshed. Spirit of truth, all that has shaped me, my experiences of joy and pain, both are held in your embrace with care. I take comfort that you know what is in my heart. You meet me in my intentions and nurture what is good. You take delight in my desire to be generous and kind. But where there is love within, striving to become an outward expression and still doing harm nonetheless, come with your gentle correction. When the limitations of my knowledge and experience inevitably mean I do wrong, even when I strive to do right, using words that sting or pronouns that misgender, unknowingly living in complicity with systems that hurt my neighbors, or otherwise furthering power dynamics that demean. When others care enough to hold me accountable and believe I can do better, may I be less interested in defending myself and more in learning a new lesson of love. May I be most concerned with the impact of my actions on others, listening, reflecting, and changing course. May I not linger too long in wallowing or guilt, nor expect those I harm to tend my discomfort. Guide my discernment in what I need to hold or let go. If I feel insecure, may I remember what is true. We all mess up a lot. Correction is an act of love. Evil has taught us so many lies we must unlearn. We need each other for this work of collective liberation. At each day's end, may I rest in the knowledge that I am loved, I am valuable, and my persistence in showing up to the needs of the world with humility, courage, and conviction will be made fruitful in you. Amen.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with Asata's Daughters, a Black women and gender nonconforming led young people-focused abolitionist organization rooted in the Black radical tradition. They organize Black young people on Chicago's South Side, address survival needs, help them develop leadership skills, and provide a place of hope. Please check out the newsletter and the real postings on Realm for other ways to help the organization as well. If you are joining us from home or in the building, you may text to give, mail in a check, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering, pledge, capital campaign, or some other giving. If you are here in the building and have money for the collection plate, please raise your hand. An usher will bring you the collection bowl or box. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. I'd like to share with you some thoughts on hospitality from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Tien Buddhist monk, peace activist, prolific author, poet, and remarkable teacher who died this past January, on January 22nd, at the age of 93. These are some of his aphorisms from his teachings on love. Welcoming a guest is like offering a flower. Cultivate the capacity to offer joy. When you know how to generate joy, it nourishes you and nourishes the other person. Your presence is an offering, like fresh air or spring flowers or the bright blue sky. The essence of loving kindness is being able to offer happiness. You can be the sunshine for another person. You can't offer happiness until you have it for yourself. So build a home inside yourself by accepting yourself and learning to love and heal yourself. Learn how to practice mindfulness in such a way that you can create moments of happiness and joy for your own nourishment. Then you have something to offer the other person, Understanding someone's suffering is the best gift you can give another person. Understanding is love's other name. If you don't understand, you can't love. The other person always deserves your full respect. Reverence is the nature of our love. We can also call welcoming inclusiveness or non-discrimination. In a deep relationship, there's no longer a boundary between you and the other person. You are her, and he is you. Your suffering is her suffering. His suffering is your suffering. Your understanding of your own suffering helps your guest to suffer less. Suffering and happiness are no longer individual matters. What happens to your guest happens to you. Welcoming a guest is like offering a flower.
Side by side.
Thank you. This is the time when our young folks are invited to join Kathy Underwood in room 3, if you'd like to do that. And we do still have nursery in the lower level in room 11. All real living is meeting, said the great Jewish theologian and philosopher Martin Buber. We human beings are profoundly relational and interrelational. We understand ourselves and the world through our relationships with each other and to every other being. Every meeting, therefore, with one another holds the possibility of being a deeply spiritual encounter, bringing us into deeper relationship with the divine. As a congregation, we have worked to meet one another and all who come to our house of worship with openness and genuine hospitality, building a sense of inclusion and belonging for everyone who might find a spiritual home here has been a deep longing for us as a faith community. And we have grown over the years in our efforts to be anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and to build a truly multicultural, multi-generational community. Yet in many ways, the beloved community we long for remains an elusive goal and something we need to continually work toward. In the many conversations we've had about race and racism, the workshops we've attended and hosted, the programs we've participated in, what comes up again and again is how we are or are not welcoming to people with marginalized identities, especially to people of color. Why are we so white? Is the question we've been asking ourselves for as long as I've been here. Another way of asking this question is, what are we doing and saying that prevents many people who are not white, able-bodied, and or cisgendered to feel that this is a place that they want to be in relationship, a place where they might find a spiritual home? Inevitably, the conversation about our welcoming or lack of welcoming leads us to talk about microaggressions, what they are and how to prevent them, and how to address them when they do happen. Microaggressions is a term coined by psychologist Dr. Daryl Wing Su. It refers to those seemingly small comments or actions that demean someone with a marginalized identity and over time can cause great harm, like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Microaggressions do happen here, and it can be a big part of what turns folks away. And it is hard to eradicate them because there's no complete list of things you can or cannot say or do. The Widening the Circle of Concern chapter on hospitality reminds us that a comment experienced by one person as a microaggression may not impact another person in the same way. They go on to say, rather than commenting about someone or making assumptions about their experience, ask open-ended questions that invite people to tell you about themselves and what is important to them. There are some obvious microaggressions we can avoid. I think most of us know that it is never okay to touch or ask to touch someone's hair in this place. I think many of us understand that asking someone who isn't white, "Where are you really from?" is hurtful. But I want to repeat that we won't be able to identify and avoid all the possible ways that we might offend someone and prevent ourselves from ever making a microaggression. Like all aspects of building the beloved community, being radically and courageously inclusive and welcoming is a practice that will include making mistakes, getting it wrong, and working to repair them. Some years ago, I was welcoming folks in our lobby before worship, and a couple came up to me to sign in, and I engaged them in conversation. I had said to one who appeared to be younger and whom I'd met before, "Welcome, it's good to see you. Is this your mom?" "No, it's my partner," came the reply. No recovering from that, right? I made an assumption based on how these two people looked, and it was hurtful. There was no need for me to know the nature of their relationship in order to introduce myself. Needless to say, they never returned. And I don't know if they would have returned if I didn't make that fumble, and I don't know if they'd managed to get past me and my awkwardness, how long it would have been before someone else said something similar or even more hurtful. But I know that things would have gone better if I had checked my assumption, set it aside, and asked an open-ended question like, what drew you to us today? Or simply introduce myself without asking details first. What if I'd approached the conversation with curiosity, humility, and respect? Beating ourselves up over blunders doesn't help, but practicing curiosity, humility, and respect in our welcoming could help us reduce microaggressions and repel fewer people who might really benefit from an open and inclusive community like ours. What does it mean to approach one another with curiosity? To be clear, I'm not suggesting we ask prying or inappropriate questions. I mean that we can hold a posture of wonder when we meet. I wonder what brought them here today. I wonder what concerns are on their heart. I wonder what experiences they've had before arriving here today. I wonder what they're looking for in a faith community. Approaching one another with curiosity doesn't mean peppering them with questions upon first meeting. It means holding genuine interest and care when you come together and letting that curiosity flow with humility and mutual respect. Building beloved community is risky business because meeting one another, there are countless ways that we can get it wrong. Creating a culture where every person, regardless of where they grew up, their gender, the color of their skin, their education or their economic means, where every person feels that this is a place that they can be their full selves without fear of exclusion. This is the work of a lifetime. It means all of us taking on the risk of making mistakes, of sometimes getting it wrong, and of sometimes feeling hurt and naming that. It carries the risk of examining our assumptions and being willing to let go of those assumptions, to have those assumptions challenged and changed. Beloved Conversations, which a good number of people in our congregation has participated in, is a program created by the FOZ Collaborative with the understanding that every conversation between two people is a cross-cultural conversation. We all have a culture, which is a combination of our family history, our geography, our education, language, and social location. Our culture is a part of the way that we are shaped and partly the frame through which we experience the world. And we all carry assumptions and judgments as a part of our cultural view. Beloved Conversations can help us to expand our vocabulary when it comes to the endlessly varying cultural encounters of our interrelationships. It helps us to understand our own cultural identity and to set down our assumptions as we meet one another. By the way, if you're interested in taking Beloved Conversations, you can still sign up. It's all online, and the signups are before February 22nd. There's information about that in the newsletter. In a recent interview, author Celeste Headley talks about her book, Speaking of Race, Why Everyone Needs to Talk About Race and How to Do It. Thanks to Rob Geiger for sending this article my way. I haven't read the book yet, but the interview is really enlightening. She talks about how to talk to people across difference and how to find common ground to challenge racist views and disarm hurtful narratives. In the interview, Headley says that she defines a racist as someone who makes assumptions about somebody else, either positive or negative, based on their perceived race. That definition includes everyone, she says, because scientific and observational studies show that all people make assumptions about one another. Making assumptions doesn't make us bad people. It's how we navigate the world. But we do have a responsibility to examine our assumptions and to do what we can to set them aside so that we can be more open to the beautiful possibilities held in each encounter. Now, it's been a while, and our practice of hospitality has been deeply disrupted by the pandemic. So we need to be even more mindful about how we are encountering one another in this sacred space. I want to encourage all of us, no matter how long you've been here at UCE or whether you're on the hospitality team or not, to share in this practice of radical welcome and inclusion. We can all practice welcoming one another as we enter into our shared community. We can all practice offering our open-hearted introduction and asking open-ended questions. Here's one way of greeting someone who comes through our doors. Good morning. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Eileen.
Well, hi, I'm Elaine. This is my first time here. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm happy that you decided to join us.
Well, I've got a cousin who just keeps talking about Unitarianism, and so I thought that I've been thinking I ought to come and kind of see what's going on. Would it be okay if I just kind of sit and listen?
Oh, of course. It's nice to have you with us this morning. Would you like some company to sit next to, or would you be more comfortable sitting alone? Either way, I'll help you find a seat.
Oh, thank you. I'd love that. That'd be great.
Great. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, Eileen.
Look, there's no precise script for radical hospitality and inclusion. We're all practicing in the great experiment of real living and meeting. Together, though, we can practice with genuine curiosity, wondering with care about what the other person is carrying, with humility, knowing that we all hold assumptions and we all make mistakes, and with mutual respect, seeing the divine spark in each other and every person who comes before us. Before we close, I wanted to give you all just another opportunity to turn to one another and greet. But before you do that, I want you to settle into your body. Close your eyes if you're comfortable, and imagine what the person next to you or in front of you or behind you might be carrying. Imagine the countless hidden burdens, the hurts, the stories of triumph and fear, their worries, their hopes. Imagine what pain they might be holding in their body. Imagine all the possible stories and beliefs that are carried in this single, precious human life. Know that you are also precious and that you also hold countless moments and stories that have shaped and defined you. Now, open your eyes, and I invite you to offer each other peace. But as you turn to one another, look into your neighbor's eyes with respect and intention and wish them peace. You can do a little hands of prayer. You can make the peace sign and simply say, I wish you peace. And if you're wanting to be a little bit more contemplative in this moment and just not into it right now, that's okay. Just put your head down and put your hand over your heart. And let's pay attention to our stickers. Red means I need a little space. Yellow means elbow bumps are cool. Green, bring in the hugs. So take it away.
I wish you peace.
Thank you. Thank you for engaging in that. After the service concludes, you might want to find that person that you just connected with and share a little bit more with them. You might want to ask them, what brought you here today? And what are you hoping to discover in this community? May we continue to build the beloved community with genuine wonder and openness to the possibilities that each meeting can bring. May it be so.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join us in saying these words. Though the flame is extinguished, we carry with us the warmth of community, the light of truth, and the fire of commitment till we are together again. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in hymn number 10, Immortal Love, verses 1 and 3.
Little bit over today, so I want to give us more like till 11:40 for our kinship time. And remember, we'll have drumming circle here and storytelling workshop in room 3. Hope you stick around for our faith formation hour after that. Beloveds, may we move through the world open to blessed encounters, meeting one another with curiosity, humility, and with mutual respect. And may we build the beloved community wherever we go. Amen.
Only 7.